Hello and welcome to another Division 2 video. Yes, in this video I'm gonna release my tactician build I use at the moment and the one I was using on my previous run on TIDAL Basin Challenging difficulty. Thanks a lot, by the way, for all your likes and all your support. It's really appreciated and it's just awesome to have you here. So thanks a lot for it, and that's why I'm gonna show you the build here as well. But this video will not contain only the build. At the beginning I will just demonstrate as well how the Firefly works and how you can use it pretty effectively. The short clip, as you saw at the beginning, was
actually headquarters building.
Get to the control room. I can walk you through the process from there.
Beginning was actually my first experience as I was using the Firefly, and yes, I was pretty disappointed, to be honest, and I was not quite sure how it works at this moment, and I just thought, what is this for a crappy little skill? Have never used it since then and just grabbed it out of my box recently and tried it again. And yeah, actually I'm pretty surprised. There is a little disadvantage, to be honest, with it, but if this wouldn't be this kind of disadvantage, then for me this would be pretty much the best build right now, except the Seeker Mine's first skill build, DPS skill build. But as I said, I will start with the Firefly, then go over to my build, show it in detail, and at the end I will talk quickly about the changes on the PTS and yeah, probably what I would do if I could, relating the skill builds for sure, or what I would do with the skills. But for the moment, let's get right into it. So this is actually a pretty nice mission to test this out. And yeah, what you have to do, just for me personally, go in cover because I have the talent on my weapon, and then aim with the Firefly, mark all the targets. It depends a little how many targets you can aim at on the skill. So you need to have some skill mods on it, and if you have the right ones, then you can aim at more than 3, I guess it's at the beginning, targets. And as you can see, it's really nice. It's really nice. So it's actually on challenging difficulty, this one here. And as you saw, the damage is around 700,000-800,000, and you can even one-shot the purple ones. So this is how it works. And something you have to be really careful about, because if the NPCs stand behind or in a building, then you have to take care that you shoot the Firefly actually through an open area. So if there is an NPC behind a wall, and if you target him first and then release the Firefly, as for the moment, then it just gets destroyed by themselves. And that's why I was pretty disappointed the first time I was using it. But otherwise, if you do it right, and actually it's not too hard, to be honest, so really just take it out. Now it's on cooldown for sure, and then aim all the targets you can which are close to each other. They have to be close to each other, and then release the Firefly into a free area. So this is actually already it. I can't tell anything more than this. You have to get a little bit used to it, to be honest. But if you consider this, then it's actually a pretty fun skill to use. Except one disappointment, as I said, or disadvantage, because it's about, yeah, depending on the difficulty, I would say 30 to 60-70% sometimes that it gets destroyed by the NPCs earlier. So before it can hit the targets, it gets destroyed and it's useless. So this is really the most disappointment about this skill. And if they would fix this, that it works all the time, then as I said, it's pretty much the best build for me right now in the game. Because yeah, the damage is quite insane if they're close to each other. And you see the red lines between them if they're actually in proximity to each other, and then it can destroy them all together, up to purples, if you play solo. So in a group, skill builds, to be honest, are not as good. The meta is still DPS, unfortunately, so there are not that many viable options right now. But if you play solo, and if you want to play something else, then this is actually a pretty nice setup and a pretty nice skill. As you can see right on the top, the burster Firefly attaches explosive charges to targets that detonate if two are in close proximity. So actually the Firefly goes to the target, flies to all the ones that you have marked, and then it brings on some explosive charges on them, and if they're close enough to each other, then they detonate. So if they are too far away, it doesn't work, but if they come closer together after it, then they can still explode. So this is how the burster works. There are other fireflies as well. So the blinder, it's kind of like the flashbang sticky, but less effective, I would say. So I don't like this as much in a group setup probably, but it's just, yeah, the cooldown too long and all the stuff. And this one here I don't like at all, to be honest, although you might think the damage is pretty high, 310k. But yeah, it just goes to one of them. The max targets is 5 as well, but yeah, it just goes to weak points and explosives. That's the disadvantage from this skill. We can actually try it out quickly as well after I explained you the build I use right now. So let's get over to the build. And as you can see, most important for me as well in here, no, not most important, but really important as well, are the weapons and the weapon talents on this build, because I don't focus too much on skill power. You can see I've barely above 2k, and I think it's enough at the moment, and I run it with 449, so 4 firearms, 4 blue ones and 9 into skill power, skill haste. And yeah, the focus was as well not into as much skill haste on this build. I will explain to you later why. So let's go quickly to the weapons, and yeah, I don't have to talk about the talents above, it's not too important, but rooted on the bottom, it's important because it increases the damage as well from the skills, although you can't see a sign, unfortunately. I hope they fix this as well, so you can actually see when it's active and when not, but this one is a really good one as well. So as you can see at the end, I will add some footage as I was testing out different weapons and talents as well. And yeah, for me personally, it was not always consistent, but it seems like, I'm not 100% sure, but it seems like that the damage out of cover from the LMGs does actually work for skills as well. I got around 260,000 with an SMG. On the target, I got around 269 with an AR and around 272 with an LMG. So it's a little bit higher damage. I'm not quite sure if this is just because of the weapon. Without this talent for sure. With the talent, I got up to 296k damage if this talent was active. So it's quite effective, to be honest. And yeah, so you have to look for rooted, that's really important. And then unfortunately you don't see it below your health bar, so you have to test it out by yourself. But if you start a mission, go in cover and then use your skills right away, that's the best and the most efficient way. So let's go ahead to the secondary, and as a secondary I use the sniper. The middle talent is not really important, to be honest. I would like to have the faster reload on this one here because it takes quite a long time, but Spike is pretty cool because headshot kills grant 25% skill damage for 10 seconds, and there is a huge disadvantage with pretty much all the talents on the gear and on the weapons as well, because the time is pretty short. So the shortest cooldown you can get on skills is 10 seconds, and yeah, if you can get increased damage for 10 seconds, then it's not really effective in my opinion. So it can work, so if you enter a mission and your Firefly is on cooldown, you can try to one-shot a red bar. It should work most of the time if you play solo, and then you have increased damage for your Seeker Mines, and then you can release them later. So this works pretty good as well. And in Rhythm, that's a pretty cool talent too, and this is actually a compensation for the less skill haste I have on the build, because it stands while equipped, but actually it works when it's holstered as well. So I guess it's bugged too, like so many other things right now in the Division, but that's another topic. But it works if it's still holstered, although it's holstered. And that's pretty cool talent, to be honest. So kills have a 5% chance to refresh all skill cooldowns and can occur once every 60 seconds. 60 seconds for sure, it's pretty long. And you have to kill around 20 NPCs, but actually it procs quite often, to be honest. It seems like the percentage is almost a little higher, for me at least. But if you play solo for sure, then you kill a lot of NPCs anyway. And if you can get this proc once a minute, then it's pretty cool though, because you get your skills insta-back, so without any cooldown. This is why this talent is pretty cool as well. And the last one, actually before I started, or before I recorded this video already the 5th time already, because I was never really happy with it, and I tested some other stuff as well. And there is another talent depending or regarding the skills, and this is recharged. While equipped, skills deployed at full armor have 20% duration, charges and ammo. And actually I'm not quite sure why, but at least for me it seems like the damage is even a little lower. I don't know if it is on the Seekers because of the more charges, could be more mines, I'm not quite sure, but as I tested it out it seems like around 290k damage with this talent and without 296k. So if you play with a flame turret or whatever, then it could work actually, and I would have equipped this, but if you play the Firefly and the Seeker mines, I would not. But recharged is the same, it stands while equipped, but actually it works as well when it's just holstered. So this just by the way. Then let's go ahead to the gear, and as you can see my main focus on the build is the demolition. Demolition destructive means 20% explosive damage pretty much everywhere I could get it, and yeah, the mask sword, that's why I just go quickly over it, it's not too important, but if you can get destructive almost everywhere, that's for me the most important thing. So as you can see, masked for total armor, so increase the resistance and the survivability a little bit, especially important if you play solo, and then cooldown. And yeah, then destructive, and you can see explosive damage and skill power on my utility protocol mod. The chest piece, I'm using an Alp Summit, and the Alp Summit has a pretty high armor roll, pretty decent for increasing the survivability as well, and a pretty high skill power roll for a chest piece. And then I get cooldown reduction skill power as well. High skill power is not important for sure, but I don't have a better piece for another one, so that's why I use 3 Alp Summit on my gear. And then I have Payload. Payload is the talent where you can get 50% explosive damage for 15 seconds when destroying an enemy's asset. And actually, especially if you play against Black Tusk, the drone guys, girls, whatever, they are annoying for everyone, I guess, but if you shoot a drone, and it's pretty easy to destroy the drones actually, then you get this buff. It's just for 15 seconds as well, but within this 15 seconds you can at least use the drones and the Firefly later. So it's actually a pretty good talent in my opinion. The duration should be a little longer for me personally, but yeah, it works pretty well. And here you have the requirement 4 or less blue ones, and I have 4. That's a reason why, and that's a reason why I have a free slot on here, because it's a defensive protocol mod, so then it would not work anymore. That's the reason. But for sure you could have a chest as well with the destructive on it, the one here, and you can use another one with armor or whatever to increase your survivability a little bit more. But that's it for the chest and the talent, and here I use bonus armor as well and skill power, seeker skill power for my mods on the gear. Then one of the most important pieces if you try to do a skill build is actually the holster, because you can get nowhere else as much skill power on one certain piece. It's not the highest roll I could get, but honestly I wait for the next patch before I start to re-roll anything. And yeah, the most important thing is to get skill power and explosive damage here as well, and the offensive protocol mod is not really important, but yeah, if there is a slot I use it for sure. This is it for the holster, and actually, yeah, usually D and H have really high rolls, or Heraldi, they come usually with pretty high skill power rolls. That's why I use Heraldi. Then for the knee pads, I have China Light, so you should have a look that you use at least one piece China Light, because the one piece talent is explosive damage, and here I have skill power as well and destructive. As a mod, again, offensive protocol mod, it's not really important, but as I said before, if I have a free slot, then I will use it. If I don't mess around with other talents and they're all unlocked. Then the gloves, it's Alp Summit as well, and the main reason because I have skill power as an attribute to reach the amount I need to unlock my gear mods on the skills, skill mods for sure, and destructive as well on the gloves. If you have different ones, for sure it's better than the ones I have, because yeah, I can't benefit from 15% high skill power, to be honest. The backpack is Alp Summit as well, and yeah, it has explosive damage and skilled is a really important talent for this build, almost the most important one I would say, because I am not focusing on cooldown reduction. this is the talent you need if you want to run this build. But you have to get the skills, kills for sure, because with every skill kill you have a 25% chance to reset skill cooldowns. Means you have to kill 4 NPCs and you should get the skills back, and you have no requirement or no cooldown. And as you saw before, as I was demonstrating how the Firefly works, if you mark 5 and the Firefly works actually, then you kill almost all the time more than 4. So means use it once and you get it back right away if it works. And that's the disadvantage, as I mentioned before, it doesn't work all the time, unfortunately. And if you want to see the mods I'm using here, skill power as well, and another offensive firearms mod with LMG damage, because LMG is my main weapon. So this is it for the gear actually. Then the skills I use on this build, as I said, is the Firefly. I will test out this later when I finished the explanation. I explained it already. And the mods I use on this one here is, as you can see, the efficiency on here, then efficiency on here, and max targets on here. So without max targets, this one here, I can just aim at 3, and with this one actually with 5. So you can kill 5 together and otherwise just 3. That's the main reason. So max targets matters a lot as well. And yeah, this is my setup for this one here. And then for the C commands, for sure, you should have a look. Actually, I'm running the wrong skills because I was testing out in PvP before. And let's change it then quickly to cooldown and damage. So the main focus should be damage, and cooldown. In my opinion, that's the best setup. So even the talents doesn't proc the cooldown from the C commands, it's just around 22 seconds. And yeah, at disadvantage, I used it as well on a heroic mission, DCD headquarter. I finished it with this build too, but to be honest, the heavies, the tanks, they're just a pain. So it's almost impossible to kill them just with kills. I tried out really everything, believe me, everything. The cam launcher, the turret, the different turrets, the drone, the bombardier drone, really everything, but nothing really works. Too good. The drone, the cam launcher, the oxidizer is pretty good against the dogs as an example, but against the heavies, the tanks, it's just a waste of time. So the fastest way to kill them, doesn't matter how, it's the LMG, your weapon, unfortunately. And yeah, if you use this build and as much destructive and explosive damage, then don't forget to use the grenades as well. As you can see, the damage is insane. It's really insane. I made a kind of troll build for PvP as well. I did a round in skirmish and got around 4.5 million damage. No, 450,000 damage, I guess. Or 4.5 million, I'm not quite sure, but pretty high. So it works in PvP too. I can show you the build as well. Just leave a comment down below if you would like to see my troll PvP nasty build as well. It's kind of like the same, but with 2 different pieces, and it works really well. So don't forget to use the grenades as well. And you do have actually 13. So you can see this is quite lower with damage, but you can apply a bleed effect. But this one here is pretty much always one shot for red bars and some purples as well, depends which one. And then for sure they jump away, they go out of cover, they try not to get hit by the grenade, but therefore you run an LMG, and therefore the good way or the good part of suppression is they stay in cover. And then try to suppress them first. If they're suppressed, then use the grenade and then change to the gun immediately and shoot ahead or shoot immediately again, because they stay suppressed, and then you can hit them with the grenades. So if you run this build with a skill build, don't forget about grenades, and if this one here are empty, then just change to the ones here. And for sure I use Demolitionist. For sure it's still the best one, as I mentioned already quite a while ago. 3 months, I guess, the first time, and you get 25% additional explosive damage. Not just because of this, but it's pretty much the best. Specialization still. So this is it for my setup I used on my run before Tidal Basin on challenging difficulty. To really hope this was useful for some of you. Have fun trying this build out, grinding for the certain pieces. And as I said, most important is the destructive talent. Then the one on the chest is not the most one, but it's pretty cool. And the second most important one is the talent on the backpack, skilled, and then the weapon talents as well. Then you should be pretty good to go. And as I said, holster, most important part, because you get the highest amount of skill power, and this you should have a look at. Then third part and the final part for the video, I know it's actually already quite long already, and the changes from the PTS. Yeah, I'm, to be honest, not really happy about the changes, and I will just talk about the changes to skills, because they don't gonna change it as much. They're just gonna add a new mod. Yes, a new mod. We don't have too many right now, but that's not a topic, as I said. And the new mods will just add a certain mod, as they talked in the state of the game, where you can get some skill power on the skills itself. So to increase the amount of skill power you have and unlock certain mods. So for skill build players, actually it's not really useful. So I don't think in the next patch we will get a better alternative as this one here. It makes the skills even stronger, and this is especially annoying in PvP when you have 0 skill power and you have already better skills then, because you can unlock more mods and it gets more messy with more mods as well. So that's the really a huge disadvantage in my opinion. And how I would do it, there are two possibilities in my opinion. So first of all, change it back like it was in Division 1. So the more skill power you have, the better cooldowns you get, the better damage you get on the skills. It's actually still the best one in my opinion, because you don't have to mess around with different mods. So this would be the best alternative in my opinion. And if they want to do it a little more personalized, so then I would do it the way, as an example, if I have 2k skill power right now, then I get, let's say, 200 points for the skills. And then I can add 200 points on my Firefly, and I can decide, okay, how much of these 200 points I will spec into cooldown, how much I will spec into efficiency from this one here, and how much I will spec into something else, radius from the pulse, as an example. And then you can personalize the skills, but you don't have to mess around with such a ton of skills, mods. And that's really, in my opinion, really annoying, because if you go in normalized areas, then you have lower skill power. I know this gets changed as well, but it's not really a lot, because the score gets up to 515 and they will just add it up to 500 instead of 450, so there's still a cap, and then you have to farm everything twice. So the skill power is lower, you have to add lower mods. If you change back to the light zone area, then you have to change back the mods, and so on and so on. And it's really annoying and just messy at the moment with all the mods and gear, in my opinion. So this is it, how I would change it if I could. If I would be a developer. You can leave down the comment what you think about this idea. For sure would be really interested. But as I said, the video is actually long enough. So thanks a lot for your time watching. Hope it was really helpful for some of you. You enjoyed the video, you enjoyed the gameplay. And yeah, glad to have you here. Glad to spend your time. Thanks a lot for all your likes, your comments down below, and your subs for sure if you haven't done it already. See you in the next one. Take care and bye bye.
The country, we need to reconnect the local system to the satellite network. We should be able to do that at the NOAA headquarters building.
Get to the control room. I can walk you through the process from there.